0.5% of any marketplace that are buying because they can see that whatever it is working for the innovators. Then Chris, there's a kind of a chasm in between the early adopters and what's called the early majority that has to be crossed in order for a product, service, or idea to begin to cross into the mass market. But the early adopters will invest in that next, then the late adopters, and then finally the laggards. So there's like 16% of the marketplace that's innovators and early adopters. There's 16% of the marketplace that's laggards, and then the rest is distributed. I think it's 64% or 68% is distributed evenly between the early majority and the late majority. And so the question then is, well, people will immediately be like, well, am I an early adopter? Am I an innovator? Am I a laggard? And the answer is it depends.
Today, we want to tell you about a friend of the Dear Business Coach podcast. If you're thinking about renovating your home or business, check out our friends at Active Wall. Located in Martinsville, Virginia, Active Wall produces high quality moving, window, wall, and door systems that open up your space. Their innovative product lines include folding units, pivot doors, and gas strut windows that are custom designed to add style, function, and wow factor to residential and commercial settings. Energy efficient, thermally broken aluminum and proprietary hardware are at the core of Active Wall's design process. Their skilled team collaborates closely with architects, designers, and homeowners across the nation to ensure that the aesthetic and functional needs of the end customer are met. The products are made in the USA and they ship nationwide. Active Wall has a showroom and design center in Martinsville that is open by appointment so you can see and feel the quality of their craftsmanship. As a special for listeners of the Dear Business Coach podcast, you can use the promotional code Elizabeth for 5% off your order. Visit activewall.com/Elizabeth for more information and a free quote. Thank you to Active Wall of Martinsville, Virginia, for being a friend of the Dear Business Coach podcast. Visit activewall.com/Elizabeth to discover how Active Wall can open up your space.
Because you can be an early adopter when it comes to something like technology. Probably you and I probably were not early adopters of the iPhone, but some people were innovative, like bought it right away because they trusted Steve Jobs and felt like he was a competent person and that Apple was a trustworthy enough company to deliver on the iPhone. And so they bought, and then the early adopters bought, and then then it crossed the chasm and started moving through the marketplace. Those same people that are innovators or early adopters with technology may very well be laggards when it comes to fashion or to diet and fitness or any other thing. So, you're not fully fixed in any particular slot in that distribution curve. It's just a way of organizing your product, service, or idea within a marketplace, because the game is, can you get the innovators invested? Because if you can get them invested, then you have a chance to move into the early adopters. And here's, I guess, the final thing before I'll pause to take any reflections or questions. You don't have to move into the mass marketplace. So if you're looking at that chasm between the early adopters and the early majority, you can make a very comfortable living serving just the innovators or the early adopters in your marketplace. You could actually make a very healthy living just serving the innovators in your marketplace. So your decision on whether to move mass market or to scale or maximize your product, service, or idea, that's entirely up to you. It's not a must do. It's a do you want to do.
Okay, well, that's actually makes sense, but not really something I had thought about right this moment. So one of the things that I'm wondering about is when is my house going to come with its own wireless charging? I know that we can do it. I know we're doing it other places.
Real.
But yeah, so You said, okay, so what you said there lastly was that you don't, if you want to stay in the marketplace serving innovators, you can. Um, Say that again. You said that innovators make up something like 2.5% and early adopters into that next part of the curve is like 13?
Yep, 13.5. I mean, and these are, these are
Right.
ballpark figures, but 2.5% are going to be your innovators, 13.5% will be your early adopters. That makes up 16% total of the marketplaces to the left of what Chris Moore calls the chasm. And crossing the chasm gets you into the early majority and then the late majority and then into the laggards. Laggards are also 16%.
So, okay, so that actually is more than I would think in terms of people in a marketplace that where we'd be able to hang out if we're interested in talking to those people as business owners or positioning. Do you think though that you can't just position yourself in front of innovators, right? It has to actually be a real solution. Are we aside from the obvious, I think that, with the private industry going into space, for example, that's pretty innovative, but or not innovative, but that's pretty much for the early adopters right now, I would say. But are there do you think there's anybody we could look at right now that might be examples of early adopters? I just said wireless charging, another example of something that's not really new, but it could be marketed to early adopters.
Yeah, so an easy example that comes to mind is, Elon Musk earned a reputation, first through PayPal and SpaceX, but part of his desire to put people on Mars and colonize Mars is he has to solve this interesting problem around battery life. To solve that interesting problem, he decided that he would start a electric car business.
Mhm.
Before he even before he even started going into production on electric the first Tesla vehicle, the people were lining up to purchase without even having seen what it was going to look like. And they but so why did those people start to line up to buy something that hadn't even been put into production yet? They trusted Elon Musk's competence, and they believed in his ability to deliver on this idea. And so, those are the innovators. They are purchasing innovation based on their belief and the competence of the person that's delivering, and the desire that it's going to fulfill for them. The and so what Elon Musk did is he sold the most expensive car first because it was a way of funding the rest of the business, right? I mean, if he had if he had tried to sell an economy model right out of the gate, there wouldn't be enough people with willing to buy something that was competing in the broader automotive marketplace. So he was going with, serving a luxury market that was uh, basically shopping for status. Like I'm going to be the only person on my block to have one of these. And then once I don't remember which model it was that was first, might have been the S, but once that was launched and the innovators got their car, then the early adopters saw that car parked, in the driveway next door or in the parking lot of the shopping center, what have you, and that's how he was able to spread and get more people to purchase that very first very expensive electric car. And then he moved down market. Then he started to create more economy models. And so, you know, I don't know that you could say that Tesla has crossed into the early, early majority,